Welcome to Liquid Lunch. We're coming at you live, obviously, from the heart of downtown Toronto. Right, Stella?
Yeah, it feels like we're right on top of it.
We are on top of it.
I can see. I'd like to be on top of something right now.
What?
I'm not telling.
Okay.
Maybe I'll say it later.
Okay. Well, Stella, we got a big show lined up today. Robbie Rox is here.
Yes, he is.
Legendary Toronto musician. And, well, not just Toronto, but we found out a little bit about... I remember Robbie Rox back in the day. You remember, like, on CFNY, they'd always say, tonight it's Robbie Rox at the Rondon.
I don't remember.
I don't know if he ever played the Rondon, but, yeah, but he did. And you don't?
No.
It's Hughes Room.
Oh,
Used to be the Rondon.
Okay, I didn't know.
Sadly, I didn't know about
I was a
that.
kid at that time. I don't know.
Oh, I forgot.
You forgot I was a child
I forgot
at
you were a
one
child
point?
at that time.
At that time.
Also, Kelly J's supposed to be here.
Yes.
But he's not here yet.
No. Nope.
Kelly J, of course, the lead singer of Crowbar.
Crowbar.
Legendary Canadian band.
And they have the SOCAN Awards this weekend. That's why they're in town.
Yeah.
And
I think he lives in Camrose, Alberta.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, which I stopped in.
And you didn't see him.
I didn't even know at the time that he lived there. And but I went when I took the bus last year from Calgary to Vancouver. We went through Camrose, very nice little town there in the mountains.
Ah.
Yeah, I thought, gee, wouldn't mind living in this town.
Yeah, they have the SOCAN Awards, and I think it's a lifetime achievement thing that they're doing.
Beep. Yeah, lifetime achievement. It's great. It's great that.
And so many Canadian artists should get that because I think they deserve it.
You know, I think it's. I think finally we're starting to recognize
Our very own.
those great Canadian artists that. You know, I mean, think about it at the time. For a while there, they couldn't even get airplay, so they had to have a government rule about it. And then there was no before the Juno Awards, like what was there,
Canadians.
right? So then they came up with the Juno Awards to honor the artists, but it was a very slow process.
Do you know what I figured out? Why Canadians celebrate Thanksgiving, and the best reason for it?
No.
I figured out that Canadian families gather around the Thanksgiving table, because our Thanksgiving, if most people don't know, is earlier than the U.S. And I think it's to give thanks, heartfelt thanks, that Celine Dion now lives in Las Vegas. What do you think?
Well, I think you know what I found out.
What?
Because when you mentioned Celine Dion, I thought of Shania Twain.
Oh.
Don't ask why. But I found out that Robbie Rox was actually born in Timmins, and I wonder if he knows Shania Twain. Probably not.
Probably not.
What are the chances?
Maybe he knew one of her twins. Woo! Which one?
Uh-oh. Can we cut that out in editing? Or should we just repeat it over and over?
And over. I don't know. Let's hear from the boys.
Oh, come on, Stella. We know what the boys want. Okay, and then we got Mike Field is going to be here.
And he's a jazz musician.
He plays trumpet, and they got a jazz band, and I think they're going to perform live.
That's
and
great.
I think they have an event tonight. So it's anyway, we got a busy show.
We have a nice musical show.
Stella,
Lots of trivia.
now just before we get into it, okay, we're going to play a Robbie Rox song in just a sec. But what do you think they're going to kick out the Occupy people?
I think it's been since all the mayors have been talking amongst themselves and saying, yeah, we got to get rid of them. So really, if they do that, what they're saying is you don't have any right to protest the system, so it's another freedom gone.
Are you sure?
Some of it, I think, was probably engineered anyway, because you know how the elite are. They hide things out in the open.
That's right.
And they had paid protesters at the Occupy Wall Street, and
They
people
did?
were saying that George Soros was the one who paid them.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And we know who George Soros is.
He's a fine international global statesman.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay. Okay, let's take a little break, play some Robbie Rox, and we're going to come back with Robbie, and Liquid Lunch is kicking off on a Friday. We're going to be right back here on thatchannel.com.
When you blah, 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 then you blah, 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 you got the delusions. Delusions of grandeur. When you talk really loud to be heard in a crowd, you got delusions. Delusions of grandeur. You got delusions. Delusions of grandeur. Attention span is bad. You're saying this, but you're thinking that. You got the delusions. Delusions of grandeur. You say you can't do this. You say you can't do that, but you got the delusions. Delusions of grandeur. You got delusions. Delusions of grandeur. You say you can act, you say you can sing, but you got delusions. Delusions of grandeur. You're a producer of this, a producer of that. You got delusions. Delusions of grandeur. You got delusions. Delusions of grandeur.
Welcome back to Liquid Lunch. We're here with, Stella and me, Hugh, and we got Robbie Rox joining us here at the Liquid Lunch table here. Robbie Rox, welcome.
Thank you very much.
You've got quite a history, Mr. Rox.
Yes, I do. That's what happens when you're around for 4 decades. You know, you
Like
in
the
the
Rolling
business.
Stones, right?
Yeah, they were an influence. They were around a little longer than me, but not that much.
You know, it's funny. I mean, we're just going to get into all this stuff. I was just thinking about it last night, talking about people like Robert Plant and all those guys. But everybody, seems to me, came in the wake of the Beatles. The Beatles were like, everybody was in their wake.
Everybody. I think everybody got in front of the mirror with a pair of shoes, dangled their hair down, and tried to look like them, singing to the songs, and tried to be like them. Went to school the next day trying to be like them. That's.
Well, you know, the funny thing was, too, I don't know how this conversation started, but it was like, who are the great guitar players, right? Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, right? Who are the great drummers? Well, John Bonham, Keith Moon. But when you think of all the best of the best, you don't really think of any of the Beatles. Like, you know what I
No.
mean? Like, Ringo wasn't the best drummer. You know what I mean?
No, but it came out later that Ringo was a good drummer, you know. And yeah, you didn't recognize the Beatles as being individuals and how good they were as individuals because they were just such a, you know, they were just they were chemistry.
And they were a phenomenon, really,
Oh yeah,
the way they came out. for
huge
that era.
musical imagination.
Now, you just mentioned you've been in this business for 40 years, Robbie. So, did it, like, I mean, where were you? Was it the Beatles that really got you going on this? Like, what was your memory of your first experience of
Actually,
the Beatles?
No, it wasn't the Beatles. It was Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. So
Sherry
it
Baby?
was actually the late 50s. Yeah, Sherry Baby and Walk Like a Man, and all those singers, Del Shannon, those singers who sang with high voices, because I use a lot of octaves, and I've always been a high singer. I'm also a low singer. And as I get older, my voice gets lower, but
Right down
but I
to?
still yeah, it's like low like it is now. But back in the early days, it was like, "Hi, how you doing?" No, that's not really.
Well, your balls were a little higher back
that's
then.
right. That's right. And I that's hilarious. Yeah, I guess so. That's what happens. Balls drop. Voice
This is
drops.
why the internet needs to be regulated, Robbie.
Oh,
by the way.
I completely understand.
It does not need to be regulated.
No.
Yeah.
We don't need more laws.
So, okay, was Frankie Valli, now, what, 1957 you mentioned?
Yeah, with Frankie Valli, actually, I became conscious after Buddy Holly died in the plane crash. For some reason, I never really got to experience him like as far as being, awake and alive. And so, in the late 50s, I was in grade 6. I remember giving away my age here. And we used to go to school and go to the school dances, and they'd play all that Walk Like a Man and those kinds of songs, like, anything from that era. Del Shannon, like I said, Gene Pitney, Lou Christie,
Yeah.
Two Faces Have I. In fact, I used to sing those songs when I started professionally because I had the voice, the high
And they're
voice.
all great songs. I mean, I can relate to all
Oh,
of
the
them.
great songs. They still are great songs. Yeah.
Now, where were you in what school? Or where were you? In Toronto or elsewhere?
I was born in Timmins, and then my parents came back when I was around. They came back to Toronto around 3. So I went to the Northwest End. I was in Northwest. I was a Keele and 401 kind of Downsview guy. So I went
Yeah.
to Cornelius Parkway, then Amesbury Middle School, then Nelson Boylan, then I went to York University for a couple of years.
What were you taking there?
I was studying psychology, English, and French.
And that was brand new at the time, right? York University?
Very new. Everything was new.
Yeah.
In fact, they didn't have enough colleges to put you in, so they would
Yeah.
put you in some building down the road. Like, this is you're in college F, okay? We haven't
College
F. We haven't got a name for it yet. So you're in college F. Well, why do I have to get stuck with college F? I don't know whether it was like seniority or something, or people who got into it early. But some people belonged to McLaughlin College, which was an older college. But they weren't. No colleges were old.
Yeah, because that was brand new university. They just built it.
Well,
right?
they built it like probably maybe 4 years earlier.
So what year was that you were at York?
I went to university in 71.
Okay.
So York was built in around 64 or 5. I think.
Yeah. All right. Now, were you playing music at that time?
I always belonged to an R&B band. I had an R&B band called the Soul Reason back in the 60s. So we became quite good, and we wanted to, when the R&B band happened in the 60s stuff, it was the Five Rogues and the Mandela with George Oliver and Don Triano and all those guys, and Whitey Glenn, guys I got to know too, which is great because I got to know them after. We wanted to be like them so much, the sole reason that we bought white suits and everything. And that we didn't have pinstripes, so we just bought white suits from an Italian maker down the road. And we became quite good as younger people, but of course, the Five Rogues and Mandela, they were like 5 years older than we were.
Mm-hmm.
So they were our heroes, like along with the Ugly Ducklings and
Yes,
all those
yes.
bands, right? And Luke Gibson and
Yes.
with Luke and the Apostles and all that. We became good enough that we were warming these bands up. So I remember we used to warm the bands up, and George Oliver and his children, when he went on to that stage of his life, the Poppers, with Skip Prokop had that band. So we would warm these bands up, and that was a real thrill, because back then most of the concerts were in Catholic schools. They were at St. Mike's, St. Basil's, those kinds of schools like that. So they had these huge dances. So
No, why wouldn't they have those in public schools?
because the public schools, for some reason, I don't know. Public schools never had big enough auditoriums or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
They were
like
bigger
I remember
buildings.
going to Neil McNeil to see Jackie Shane back in those days. Of course, Jackie Shane was the big talk because he wasn't, he wasn't doing things the way most people were, But I mean,
How did he do it different?
Yeah.
What did he
Jackie
do?
Shane?
Yeah.
Well, Jackie Shane was
The way you see
he was a bisexual, and at that time it was really, really, it was really intriguing to go to see this man that it was kind of a secret. It wasn't really out front, but everybody knew, and he was a great singer. And so we go as kids to see this bisexual singer who was basically pushing the envelope. And we were watching, very carefully to see what he would do on stage if he had any kind of suggestive moves.
So did he?
Yeah, he pinched the bass player's ass.
And that made him bisexual.
So basically, we went. See that? So
I don't know.
No, yeah, I know. No, maybe not. No, but I mean, at that time, you're looking for every clue. It's like listening to Lou.
You got your gaydar on.
Exactly.
Right?
You're sitting there going, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" Meanwhile, anybody normal would have said, "No, that wasn't much. What are you talking about?"
Yeah. But it's part of the intrigue of
So
the whole thing.
was he really bisexual? Was just that a rumor?
Apparently,
So basically, he was on the fence. He didn't know which hole to pick.
I guess. But you know what? There was a point where I think just people lost interest, and I don't think we really pursued it. We didn't really go into it.
Well, nobody cares anymore.
No.
Right?
No,
I mean,
they
that
don't.
wouldn't be a draw today.
No. Nobody cares. No.
Okay, so now what year, what period was that when you were backing up for these guys?
Oh, that would have been 67 to 9.
Okay, did you have your hair long yet?
Oh, I had lots of hair. We looked like we had like Beatle haircuts.
Because I remember it
Kind
was a
of.
big deal when everybody started to grow their hair long, because the whole world went from short hair to long hair like in about within a 2-year period.
Yeah, but all the R&B bands didn't have really long hair. They had kind of like longer hair.
Yeah.
And they didn't have like long hair. It wasn't not like The R&B was strong in 65 to 66, 67, somewhere in there. So we continued the R&B thing into the 60s. But the long hair was happening for sure.
Yeah.
But it was more groovy. People were out dancing, and it was more groovy hair, you know?
Yeah.
I found anyway.
So, now, were you involved in the Yorkville scene at all?
No, I just missed that because I was a suburban kid in my suburban band. We were good, but our parents at the time were strict, and they wouldn't let us take off. So we used to go through Yorkville in our cars and stare at all the freaks.
Yeah. I did that too.
You know, I mean, it was like we were amazed. Like I know so many people who were there and lived there that are friends of mine now, but it was just a little before my time. And we were, you know, we didn't take off and leave our homes. We stayed there, did our safe little R&B thing, kind of got a little wild on the weekends. And, you know, if we weren't on the football team, we weren't groovy. So, you know, there was kind of that pull, that sports thing where we had to be athletic still. And so we just couldn't go down to Yorkville and just give up our lives.
Oh,
Well, we could, but we didn't want to at the time.
yeah.
That didn't happen to me till I went to university. Then I went all out.
You did? What'd you do?
Then Yorkville was over.
Oh,
Yeah.
you missed out.
Well, yeah, they built up. Yorkville they turned it into a groovy. They cleaned it up, like whatever clean up means. They basically cleaned it up and turned it into a very fashionable place to be.
Yeah, kind
Very
of. That's when it
expensive.
started becoming what it is today,
Exactly.
right? Now, do you remember the Rochdale thing?
Oh yeah, I was at university when Rochdale was still going strong, and because I was thick, because I was a stocky kind of a guy, I'd get hired to be like a bouncer when guys were making deals.
You mean drug deals?
Yeah. So I would be with the guy making a deal, like I'm the bouncer. Like I wouldn't have to say anything. I just have to look scary.
Now, when you were doing that, were you in your 20s? Because that's when you were telling me that your hairline started receding and whatnot. So did you look tough?
Yeah, I looked like a biker.
Oh.
I had a big beard, big hair, and it was great. It was first year university, yeah, and I was 20 years old. I had just turned 20, and I had receding hair too, so it made me look older.
Right.
So I didn't have to say anything, and never got into any trouble.
You just
but,
look.
Well, yeah, they were like dealing with a couple of pounds or whatever, and I'm there, and I basically wasn't involved in the business. It's just I would be getting paid, and I figured, well, I've got to get myself through university.
No, was
That's
this
right.
at Rochdale? Were you doing this?
Well, I was at York University.
Yeah.
But there was a bit of a market up there. There were guys running things up there.
Yeah.
And they would take me down to Rochdale.
Okay.
And so we'd go down, which was a little scary for me, but I didn't let anybody know that
But you
I
were
was.
the hired gun.
Yeah, well, I was there to kind of pretend,
Do you remember when the cops basically were blockading the place?
Yep.
Do you remember that? Were you ever down there just to see that frontier between the police and the
Yes.
people inside?
Yes, it was, as a matter of fact. My father was a
What
professor.
year was that? Where the police did that?
Yeah, it was
Around the same time, I think. It's hard to
like
say.
69 through 72 at the latest, or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
it was in that period.
Yeah.
And my father was a professor at U of T there, OIC, at the Teachers College right at Spadina and Bloor.
Oh, yeah.
And so my father would see everything every day. I mean, he'd come home with all these things. Yeah, they were blocking it out today, and oh yeah, somebody jumped out of the window today, and oh yeah, my father had all the latest news. I think,
He was like Irv
Yeah,
Weinstein,
that's
and
right.
you weren't even in
He goes,
downtown Buffalo.
really, Dad, you saw all that?
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and what was your dad like? How did he feel about that whole scene?
Oh well, they were. My parents were. They were alienated, like most parents were. I mean, this was a pretty scary thing that was happening. The subculture, the rebellion. People coming out of the war who's tried so hard to get to where they are, and then then there's a bunch of freaks that want to tear it all down. And we were basically became freaks too, and we're trying to tear down all the values, thinking, why would you work so hard to have this? And so, it was alienating for them, although we were still in the pocket still. We weren't right out of control yet, but they had a hard time with it.
Now, did that cause any kind of tension between you and your parents?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we were.
Like, that was that whole generation gap thing. There really was a generation gap. The short-haired parents
Oh, yeah.
that came out of the Second World
Big
War,
time.
and the long-haired hippie kids that wanted to, reinvent everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have June and Ward Cleaver, basically, right?
Yeah.
And then you have all of a sudden that movement, the '60s rebellion and the freedom
Yeah.
and this and that, and Woodstock, and
Yeah.
then of course, but right in the middle of it, you had the Vietnam War, and there was a lot of people who didn't believe in that war that were coming up
Yeah.
and residing here to
Yeah.
get away from going to the war because it wasn't something that was
No.
they wanted to join.
And then in
in.
that era too, there's the FLQ in Quebec and all that stuff
Yes.
was going on. So there's
Yes.
just a lot of rebellion going on. I mean, this was like the first time the world was kind of facing this kind of. It was like a social
Sure.
upheaval.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think was going on? I mean, when you stand back now with your perspective, looking at it 40 years later, I don't know. What do you think was going on? Did we need to have that cultural divide? Because it doesn't seem there's the same kind of generation gap now between older people and the kids today.
No.
And also, there doesn't seem to be a lot of difference
No.
between people like my age and what your parents were. That all
Yeah.
those issues seem to have evaporated. I don't know what do you
Yeah,
think?
they have. Yeah, I think that kids control their parents more now, from what I can see. Like and parents and kids now seem to be more friends.
Yeah.
They're friends. They talk on the same level. There's bad language that is used in family that is just almost normal, even if it's an upper scale family. There is more forward. I don't know whether, of course, our age group is now grandparents, but I see my nieces with their kids now, very young kids. It's a whole different. There's not that cultural divide anymore. It's hard to shock anybody anymore, really.
Yeah.
I'd say.
But do you also think that because of the huge technology, I guess they welcomed it all so much, and everybody's got so many toys. Do you think that conversing with people has become less rather than more? Because sure, there's no cultural divide and there's nothing there to shake up the differences, but yet everyone's in their own little world. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you'd have to blame the computer for that and internet, I think. A lot of it's got to do with that. I mean, I'm not saying it's not I mean, I use it all the time to do things that are convenient, but at the time in the 70s, we used to sit around like with, little dope and maybe
Hacky sack.
maybe a little this and that, have a fondue. There was no distraction like people on their.
And people
you're trying to
talk
talk
to
to
one
somebody and
another.
they're on their smartphones and you can't keep
Their
anybody's
thumbs are
attention
going.
anymore. And of course, you'd go into a bar. The conversations in, let's say, a pub or a bar would be completely different because there's no TVs, no sports on TV. There's a little TV in the corner for the owner to watch, so he wouldn't die of boredom. But back then, there was a lot more conversation, and you'd sit around with people with a fondue and a glass
Yeah, that was
of
the big
wine.
thing, and that to me is important because that whole
Yeah,
dinner, getting
Yeah.
together,
yeah,
where everybody's sharing,
yeah.
brings people actually closer together, and maybe that was
Yeah.
part of the whole idea.
People's attention span has become very bad.
Yes, I agree with that.
People can, if you even watch the movies that were put out at that time, like a Five Easy Pieces,
Oh, they
or
were great.
or any of those kinds of movies, anything that was put out, any classic, could be The Shining even. The way they used to edit the scenes and drag them so that they'd start and then they'd fade. Now everything's got to be so quick, and it's very hard to actually talk to anybody and get them to listen to you for more than about 3 minutes.
Well, this is it. It's always got to be really short, so you got to grab their attention in a very short space of
Yeah.
time.
I mean, you guys are amazing. You're listening to a whole whack of stuff here.
Yeah, we do.
What do you mean, Robbie? I don't know what you're talking about.
Your attention span is amazing.
Look at him.
What?
He's looking to
Where am
see
I?
if he looks attentive.
Hey, Robbie, you want to do a song for us? I mean, and we'll come back and we'll keep this conversation going.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
we'd love to hear something right now. And
Here's a song I'm going to do. Of course, it was orchestrated on the CD, but I'm going to do this acoustically. It's called "The Big Screw."
The Big Screw.
Yeah, and I can explain it to you what the song was basically about.
Okay,
after.
cool.
Okay,
So
here it is.
basically,
Yep.
everybody's bent over,
In a
grabbing
sen-
their ankles.
In a sense,
Not like the Big Chill. It's the Big Screw.
yeah. Well, can't you hear all? Can't you hear me? Can't you hear? Can't you hear me? We can't kid ourselves. Everything we do is for the screw, the big screw. Everything we wear, everything we buy, everything we drive is for the screw, the big screw. Money, guns, and lawyers. In understanding the world, that's just a start. And no one wants to pay you for the things that are closest to your heart. Everyone we use, everyone we schmooze is for the screw, the big screw. Follow your crotch, it will lead you to lots of emptiness, and the screw, the big screw. Money, guns, and lawyers. And understanding the world, that's just a start. No one wants to pay you for the things that are closest to your heart. Can't you hear all? Can't you hear me? Can't you hear? Can you hear me? Woo. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So
Now-
what you're saying is basically the simple things in life, the things that are really important, we don't get paid for.
Yes.
Is that going to change, Robbie?
I can't see it changing because we're becoming more and more materialistic, you know? So the things that are really close to our heart, the things we really want to do, which
who we
obviously
are.
some people are doing things they really want to do and getting paid for it. So it's
Yeah.
not in every case. But I found in this business artistically, you got to be doing what everybody else wants you to do to make, to basically get the record deal or whatever, you know. And, you know, I did get one record deal. I did Quality Records put out one of my albums, and that was fine. But we had to try to come up with a hit.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like a hit. So in other words, this song is not structured like a hit, for example, that I just did. It starts here, ends over there. You know, they wanted like 2 verses, you know, 2 choruses, a little bridge, and a bump and a bump.
Yeah, because it was basically, this is the
Yeah.
formula for a successful hit, right?
Exactly. So not that any of the songs I wrote I didn't like, but some of them I consider artistically weak. But it has to do, too, the song The Big Screw has to do with we are so distracted with trying to achieve the big. The big screw has to do with, you know, the big car, the big house, the big clothes, the big check, the big guy, the big everything. We have to appear.
Yeah, and in
So
the
much.
end, what does it, you know, what do you leave here with, really? Think about it.
Yeah, exactly. So if you stay,
You can't take it with
if
you.
you stay true to what you want to do, or just even remind yourself who you are, even if you do have some job that you don't like that much, just remember who you are and what you're going after, and I think we lose sight of that.
You know, it almost seems like this whole Occupy thing, or this, this movement worldwide. People are fed up with the financial system or whatever, right? You know, it's almost like
Status
people are
quo.
really just getting tired of that whole thing, and that we need to do something about it.
Well, yeah. We're getting gouged. I mean, it's only a question of time before things blow up like that, you know. But I'm not like a panic freak, you know. Think it's all gonna blow up, you know. I'm sure something will happen, but I mean, these are scary times that way, you know, because we're dealing with a whole other kind of rebellion, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do you mean? A whole other kind of
Well,
rebellion? What do you mean?
I mean, it's happened all the way through history, and you know, things. But I'm like, for example, back to the hippies when they were going through what they were going through. It was not about money. They could have money. They could stay at home with their parents in suburbia. It was about a social. It was about a belief. It was about something. It was about they could afford to be freaks or hippies.
Well, I often think about that. In a way, they could. I mean, the times economically were such that everybody had enough money. Was that not true?
Well,
you
yeah,
could get a job
it
if
was,
you wanted it.
It was
you know?
post-war, basically, of about 15 years. Everybody was doing well. The economy was actually good.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a different kind of thing going on now. There's a real squeeze.
Because everybody is really squeezed for the money right now. You know, and people in the media are afraid to speak up because they're afraid of losing their jobs, right? Because they
And
need
that's
to have
happened.
that money coming in,
Yeah.
and things are so tight. It seems that's putting a bit of a damper on free speech and freedom in general.
And you know what? I've heard recently that they're actually reinterpreting our constitutional laws. So, which means if they're allowed to reinterpret it again, then more of our freedoms that were supposedly entrenched in it, we're not going to have.
What do you think about that, Robbie? Are you concerned about that kind of stuff?
I am.
Freedom, Patriot Act, police state encroachment, all that sort of thing?
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is that just talking about a police state. I mean, the cops are cowboys now. They're kind of they're wild. I mean, they're out there like it's scary. I mean, at one time, your friendly police officer was your friendly police officer. Of course, you know, there's always that.
And he was there to serve and
But
protect.
I'm not saying all policemen are like that or anything like that. I just think that the police force has gone on to a different level for sure. I mean, when you get in trouble now, you get in trouble. I mean, you don't. I guess maybe it depends on what you're doing. I don't know. There's a control thing that's out there that it's hard to actually explain what it is. I try not to give it too much thought because I try to live a little bit more. Try to stay out of trouble. Is basically what I'm telling you.
But do you think that the police have been mandated from higher ups and powers that be to be more on people's faces and taking away, taking away their freedoms and their freedom of speech? Because we saw that with the G20, how brutal they were. And they had misinterpreted the law. And the police chief just took it upon himself to interpret it his own way, and the message went down to the lower ranks.
Yeah.
But then, with what was going on recently, earlier this year, with what was happening in court and the inquiries and everything else, they really did overstep their bounds.
Yeah.
And if you notice, the police uniforms changed from blue to black. Okay? That, to me, is a sign of more of a police state.
Yeah.
Maybe they should change them to pink, Stella.
Yeah, well,
What do you
that would change your whole way in which you talk to a police. Hi, how are you?
Lillian the lawmaker, how you doing?
Yeah, like, can you, pink? Yeah, was I speeding? You really going to give me a ticket looking like that? But no, for sure, yeah, black, sure, it's all presence. But you know, I don't think the police force is actually qualified to actually deal with those, to understand those kinds of problems, those kind of like the G20. They're not qualified. They're not actually. they're not educated enough, like none of them, to really deal with that.
Well, I don't know if it's education, but what they are actually taught. Because, like, we can believe it. I mean, education is great, but the whole system behind who teaches you and what is supposed to be taught, the agenda,
Yeah.
is what I think is in question. Because maybe what we're all taught and what we've been taught for the last 50 years is a crock. Just because you fell into it doesn't mean that it's true.
I don't think they should send police out to these things. I think they should send a bunch of shrinks. With
Really?
loudspeakers. Yes. It's
Hello?
okay. We know what you're going through. You need help.
So then you want them to be more medicated, is that?
Not that they need help. No, I think a lot of them are very justified in what they do. Just that you just need more understanding. I just don't think the chief of police, I'm sure they take their crash psychology courses, but I don't think the chief of police really knows how to handle it. And that's where the problem is.
Yeah.
They just don't know what to do.
Well, I mean, we could talk about this all day,
Okay.
Robbie, right?
Change the subject,
But
sure.
I don't want to derail. We want to find out a little bit about. We want to carry on with your story here.
Okay.
Now, you mentioned that before the show that you were in. You spent a lot of time in Quebec, in Rivière-du-Loup area, and you bought. Whose sound system did you buy? You had a.
Well, when I was living out in Quebec, I went out to be a farmer. Went out to take a summer course to better my French because I was studying it. Then after the course was over, I ended up looking at some farms with families and some friends, and we ended up buying a farm for $8,000. So we decided we were going to be farmers for a while because we were back to the land. It was back to the
Oh
land.
yeah. What year would
That's
that have
great.
been?
Yeah. Well, actually, it was great. It was very hard and very stupid. But you don't realize how stupid it is until you try to plow the land once, and the farmers up the road are racing down, telling you not to do that. No.
Oh, they're helping you. They're saying don't. That you're gonna.
What are you doing? You turn it over once. We basically, had to kill our first chicken. Remember, we had
How did you do it?
we got drunk, and
And got the chicken drunk.
well, we were squeamish. So we grabbed it by the leg, and then I'd pass it on to somebody else. Because that's my job. My job's done. You do whatever you got to do.
Did you draw straws?
They couldn't
They
chop
chop
off the
the
neck.
neck off and stuff. Yeah, and then we learned how to do it. Then we were doing them 5 a week,
So did you become desensitized
From
from killing chickens?
well, no, not really. No, we were squeamish no matter what. We just forced ourselves
Okay,
to do it.
so let me get the picture here. So the farm was somewhere near Rivière-du-Loup.
It's actually, it was a little town called Trois-Pistoles, Quebec.
Oh, that's a famous town,
Yes,
right?
it is.
I mean,
Wow, what?
well, that's a pistol. It means like three pistols. I mean,
pistols.
like
3 pistols. It's got to do with three police officers who actually
Carry pistols.
Yeah, but lost. The three officers were on a floating piece of ice somehow. I don't know. They got off the boat. I don't know what happened. And they drifted towards. They drowned in the St. Lawrence River at that point. So they called it Trois Pistoles, which is 3 pistols. So it has to do with 3 officers with 3 guns who lost their lives.
what a great story. So how many acres did you have?
We had 200 acres.
For $8,000?
Yeah, pretty ridiculous.
Wow.
And the machinery and a big house.
Holy
Did
cow.
you have a barn?
You had a barn and everything. Yeah, we had the works. And they even left they threw the chickens in.
Wow. So I
Any
mean,
pigs?
and
Then we had a cow, so we'd milk a cow, and then we had sheep, and then I was out there. I was always a musician, and I was becoming unsatisfied with the whole farmer thing. I thought, this is too hard a life, and what am I doing, and waste my life. So I went to Rimouski, Quebec, and I somehow talked in this. They had this store that was selling in Quebec. They sold Dynacord. Dynacord equipment.
Okay.
It was Germany. It was German made.
yeah.
And so we bought that, and so I bought this gigantic sound system. So I was the only guy out there, and I wrote a 30-minute song, And
Why so
30
long?
minutes on?
because I was influenced by Grand Funk and those kinds of bands when I was in university that did songs for like 30 minutes. I don't know whether everybody was just stoned going, hey, man, let them go. It was like, I don't know. I was just in, like Moody Blues and Pink Floyd
Nights
and
in
songs
White
that had
Satin.
there were long songs instead of these 3-minute, 20-minute songs that were like singles. And I was just really influenced by that. So I wrote a 30-minute song,
Wow.
and I started playing that set in Cégeps in Quebec, which were like it was like a university except in between university and high school.
Yeah.
And so I did this strange show that everybody was just freaked at. But this one agent would hire me to come in with my sound system to do sound for Jesse Winchester, and I think some of the Detroit Wheels guys came in, but half them lost half them over the border because they just
Wonder
wouldn't let
why.
them through. So there was like a few guys on guitars, and I was doing sound for like the Detroit Wheels in Rimouski. So I became known in that area, and then there was nothing out there for me, so I came back to Toronto, went to the first Long McQuaid that was ever here on Yonge Street, hit Yonge and Davenport area there, and I walked in, and I said I needed money, so I said I'd like to sell you this stuff. Well, what would you give me for it? He goes, what is it? Because they were selling Trainer and Fender, and Vox and Marshall,
Marshall.
And so I said, well, it's a German. He goes, it looks like a great system, but he says, what am I going to do with it? I can't sell it. So I was stuck with this system. I started my first Robbie Rox band. I used it for 2 to 3 years.
Now, what year would that have been?
I started Robbie Rox in we're coming up here 2000, and this is 2012. It was in 72, so it'll be 40 years this winter.
Wow.
And I started my first Robbie Rox band, and I used that system. And my first gig, we were managed by H.P. and Bell, Lighthouse, Paul Hoffert, Skip Rokrop, and Bruce Bell at that time. And they were kind of like, they had kind of faded, and they had a company, but they'd send Lighthouse out still. They'd send those guys out to do gigs, but they had lost their whole thing, and they started to manage bands. They were managing me, Bill King, and the McLean Brothers at the time with the 3 band acts that they had.
Which McLean brothers? The McLean and McLean
McLean
brothers?
and McLean Brothers, who the late McLean and McLean.
The funny guys.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
At that time, and so they, I had this system that then they put us out west on a tour, and we just, basically freaked the pants off of everybody because nobody was used to what we were doing.
What were you guys doing that was so different,
Well,
unique?
it was compared to kind of a Frank Zappa thing. We didn't try to be like Frank Zappa, but we were like weird.
Like what? Like what was the whole?
Well,
I mean, it was your
were-
thing, right? What was
Well,
your?
we were more obscure than I'd say any show I do now. It's like we didn't care if anybody understood what we were doing. It was great music, great musicians, but we were just doing just songs like "I Am Starting to Hate." They book us up in Thunder Bay in some hotel, Finnegan's, for example. That was our first gig ever, and we just fried the place, And Brandon, Manitoba, believe it or not, was our favorite town. For some reason, everybody liked us there. I don't ask me why. Maybe they were all
They were cold.
they're on drugs. I didn't.
No,
No, I said they were cold.
They
Brandon,
were
Manitoba.
cold. Yeah, it was cold there. Winnipeg was friendly. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I was stupid, but I was watching the Weather Network this morning before I came in, and they showed Brandon, Manitoba. They showed it's snowing there.
Well,
something
they
like
never used to do that on the news. They start showing little towns now because
Yeah.
they want everybody in the world to be included. It's like,
Yeah.
this is Brandon,
Yeah.
and I want you to know where this is. Brandon's a great town. Winnipeg was great. Calgary, Alberta, they just fried us there.
But they didn't like you there?
I got fired after one song.
Wow.
Then they sent us to Edmonton. No, that wasn't, at that time, Alberta was like this heavy duty, go west young man kind of province. Like if you weren't into oil or if you weren't into working hard, like
Yeah, that's where everybody went to get jobs.
That's right. So if you did anything different out there, they would fry you. So we went there, then went to Edmonton, got fired after one set there. Then we went to Ponoka, Alberta, which was a little town which the industry was the mental institution, and so
Oh,
You probably went over big there. That was okay. You did
actually,
well.
we went over great. Funny enough, we went over great with the staff. Like the staff of the institution used to come out to hear us because they used to love our insanity, right? They were great people too.
I'm sure they all probably saw One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest like a lot of times.
Oh yeah, sure.
Right?
And then,
Yeah.
and actually, One Flies Over the Cuckoo's Nest was one of the things that influenced me to kind of do things differently in life. Believe it or not, that movie. So what happened is we came back to Toronto because we were losing we had 2 trucks, we couldn't afford to keep them, and I sold my sound system to Mike Tickle from Max Webster.
And that's funny because. So what year would like had they released any of their albums yet at that point?
They were still Max Webster. They were still doing Max. They were playing over down on the Piccadilly Tube and some of those Young Street bars.
I remember the.
And they'd come in to see me play all the time because I was weird enough to entertain them. I guess I'm not sure. And so Max. I said, I'm trying to sell this system. I need the money. So I remember Mike Tickle pulled $400 out of his pocket. Said, "It's $400." I said, "Yeah." Back in the '70s. Took the 400. Those guys backed in a truck, took the system.
And that was it. And they.
And then I rented from then on. I just wanted $400.
Yeah. Well, who wouldn't? I mean, $400 is $400, right?
So they use the system.
Especially in the 70s. $400 is still $400 today.
Yeah, exactly.
But were they well known, big yet? Had they released any of their records yet?
They were pretty good. They were pretty big. Yeah, they had.
Because I know they were playing high schools before they even released their first record.
They were pretty well. They were getting well known.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were. We were the new kids on the block.
Yeah. So how long were you on that farm for?
I stayed there for probably 2 years.
Yeah.
Through the winter and through the spring. Winters are brutal.
It must have been.
But I fell in love with the girl there, so I dragged it on.
Yeah.
She's still in your life?
No, she's not.
Do you ever wish you were back on the land doing some stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it gets in your blood. There's something about it.
Yeah, but it's so hard, you said, right? And
yeah, it's hard. But I mean, I think you need financial backing to do something like that.
Yeah.
I think you need an inheritance.
Well, not only that, but really now, since Health Canada has, you can have health-regulated marijuana. You can grow pot for Health Canada for medicinal purposes.
Absolutely, yeah. Things have changed. They've opened up. They've loosened up.
But if you're not growing it for medicinal purposes, I understand they'll fly black helicopters over your property and then they'll come and raid you.
Well, that's actually what happened. They thought we were hippies growing marijuana. Then they'd come and we'd have 2 chickens. I had a couple of dead chickens, right?
Hanging outside?
Well, yeah. The Sûreté de Québec, which was like the OPP, provincial police used to come up the road, and they came up, trying to check us out. And I had these 2 chickens that I just cleaned. And he said to me in French, he said, vous êtes vraiment fermier. You guys really are farmers, aren't you? I said, yeah. Look.
Yeah, and you could have done some kind of ritual thing with the chicken and scared the living crap out of
Well,
them.
they were a little, yeah. They seemed like squeamish guys, like they.
Who, the cops?
Well, they didn't look like they grew up on a farm,
Right. Yeah. Okay, so getting back to the music thing. So now you sold your sound system to Mike Tilka, and you were you were still doing the Robbie Rox thing, right?
But I was hiring sound companies by that point.
Which is might as well, right?
And Max Webster was using it as a monitor system.
And then, but what was happening with Robbie Rox then? Were you still touring around? Or?
Well, no, that band disbanded. Basically, Paul Hofford from Lighthouse brought us into Thunder Sound Studios because we were supposed to be the next best thing. So they marched me around the Juno Awards, and they were excited about a couple of songs I wrote that they thought were really different, which they were. That whole thing seemed to disappear. They tried to sell that to record, so I was going around meeting Skip Prokop and not the Anne Murray and Gordon Lightfoot and all these guys. So I thought, my God, I've made it. I mean, they haven't sold the stuff yet, but I'm meeting all these famous people, and they said, yes, we heard a lot about you, and I was like flying, and then nothing happened. It all started to dribble, so I had to build my own career up again. I had to build my own thing and do my own thing in Toronto and build my reputation. They couldn't do anything. They said, well, we're trying, but I mean, just nobody seems to be really, you're just too different. And they managed for a while, and then that band disbanded. Then I started my first horn band, and we got most of our publicity at the Colonial Tavern. Carol Pope was upstairs all summer, and we were downstairs all summer. And that's where we got a lot of our write-ups. Wilder, Penfield, Peter Goddard, all those writers would come down to see the new band that was just basically nuts.
And that was just over on Yonge Street, was it?
That was Yonge
Colonial.
Street.
Like across
Colonial's right
from
across from the
Eaton
Eaton Center, where
yeah.
the Eaton Center is now.
Yeah.
And we did that for a whole summer, and we got a lot of everybody. Then the next year was fantastic. The agents started calling me to play the circuit. Then we did the Who Knows Awards with Dave Wilcox.
Who knows?
Yeah, Peter Goddard took up the Who Knows Awards at City TV, which was a little house at the time. It was almost like a house, City TV.
Where was it?
It was at Queen,
East.
further east.
Yeah. Okay.
I think around more like Mount Pleasant, maybe.
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember where that
Like,
was.
no,
It was further.
couldn't be Mount Pleasant, but maybe was it
no,
like
Jarvis.
111? Yeah, near Jarvis.
Sorry,
yeah.
Jarvis. Mount Pleasant
Yeah.
is
Got
not
it.
that
Yeah.
north end. It's extension. And then we did the Who Knows Awards, and at that time it was basically me, Carol Pope, Downchild Blues Band, and David Wilcox. We were the four bands that were doing the circuit,
Yeah.
and we did that. Then the circuit burned out.
No, what
And
the circuit was? What was the circuit?
The circuit was great in Toronto. You do the Midwich Cuckoo on are these all ringing bells for everybody? The Midwich Cuckoo on Jarvis Street. Not for you though, right?
No, I mean, I wasn't old enough to go into these places to actually drink because I was young, but I'd heard about it from my older sisters whose husbands
of
went
course,
to
of
it
course.
and stuff.
Well, the Midwich Cuckoo was a great place to play. Everybody played there. Then you go over to the Gasworks.
I remember that.
Then there was the Piccadilly Tube. There was Larry's Hideaway that went from Larry's Hideaway over to Headspace, back to Larry's Hideaway till it finally burnt down. There was the chimney upstairs is on top of Gasworks. Then there was the Nags Head North and the Nags Head South, and the Rondon Hotel at Roncesvalles area that you had mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Playing at the Rondon. Yeah, these big places with huge sound. That was the circuit. So you could a band could actually make a living
Just doing that.
just going around the city, and every once in a while somebody from out of town would call them, like Ottawa. Like we went to Ottawa to the Black Swan in Ottawa. There's a Black Swan out there. And they would pay you like hand over fist to go out, you know. They'd bring in this band if you were on TV or getting any kind of action at all. They did all the Toronto papers. So every once in a while a band would take off for 2 weeks to go to Ottawa, but they'd be back in that circuit making a living.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what year would that have been? Just trying to get an idea.
The year of that whole circuit would have been basically 76, 77.
So now that was just before, or just about at the time that the whole punk thing started.
Almost. Disco had come in for 2 years there, and
Hey, I was in there.
it sounds right if you do the math. Yeah, it sounds like you would have been.
I was.
Now, either you liked or you hated disco. You hated it or you liked it. So if you liked disco, you didn't like anything that the original bands were doing, like Carol Pope or me or Dave Wilcox had this kind of funny act he was doing. But disco was a funny era. But in '78, it was 78, 77, 78, punk was starting to kick in.
Yeah.
So because I'd yell at the audience and I would tell them off and tell them they weren't listening, and because I was a little bit aggressive with the audience, they put me in a category of punk for a while. And there was a big article in the Star, which I have on my which I have online there somewhere on my RobbieRox.com, of me jumping in the air, saying what was it called? It said Meet the New Underground. So basically, at that time, I never considered myself punk because the music wasn't punk, but because I was hard on the audience, demanding their attention and all this stuff, I went into the category. So there was a big picture of me jumping in the air. There was the Dishes at the time. There was the Vile Tones. There were all those Battered Wives.
Right.
There were all those bands that were getting this kind of publicity, and I kind of got lumped in for a while with that at the Horseshoe with the Garys.
Mm-hmm.
Which is probably a good thing because it was a cresting wave, right, or a rising wave, and you were to take part in that.
It got rid of disco.
Yeah.
I mean,
until Blondie wrote Heart of Glass, and
Yeah.
that brought the whole punk thing back into the disco world.
yeah, I don't want to be too tough on disco. Disco is for people who wanted to dance, but they weren't.
Yeah, but you had a whole thing happening around disco too. Don't forget, the Bee Gees came back. Staying Alive was
Well,
the
they-
top-selling album at the time because of the movie, right, with
Yeah.
John Travolta. So that was a whole big thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was a big thing that way.
Did you ever want to write a disco song?
Yeah. Not really. I can't say I did.
See, I did. When Blondie came out with Heart of Glass, I went over to the disco side. I said, I'm going to write a disco song.
You always swung both ways anyway. What the heck's the matter with you? Disco rock.
But
Well,
I
you know.
actually wrote the first. I actually wrote the first rap song. I didn't realize it was rap.
Really?
Well, nobody. It's on the
Nobody
CD.
knew what
It's
it
called
was.
"Small Things Make Me Happy." It just turned out to sound rappish.
Well, we're going to have to play
Small
that.
things make you happy.
Yeah, "Small Things Make Me Happy" is. I don't know which cut it is on there because I just got that CD.
Well,
and-
we'll get it ready and
Small
we'll
Things.
play it. Just
Yeah, it's got a rap feel to it. I mean, it's not like heavy duty rap, but it definitely resembles rap. I think.
Not shrink wrap.
So that's what people tell me.
so.
Yeah.
So what happened after that, Robbie? Because I remember in those days,
Well-
I used to listen to CFNY. I wasn't from Toronto, but I would hear your name and I'd hear you
Well,
guys were playing all over the
big
city.
years with CFNY were with the Robbie Rox rock band, which we did 2 albums at Phase One Studio, and one of them was a quality records deal. And CFNY picked up on this song called "The Brunch Bunch," which is actually on
Oh,
that.
the brunch! I think I remember that song.
Yeah, that song was on CFNY all the time.
Oh, we got to play that song too.
And it was played on. Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a
Find
ton
it.
of them on there. I
Somebody
just can't
find
think
it.
of them.
The Brunch Bunch.
But the Brunch Bunch was played in all the college radio stations at the time. So every college knew me as being the Brunch Bunch guy. It's like Robbie Rox, the Brunch Bunch guy's coming here. So I play the colleges. And so they played that. And CFNY really liked me with Dave Marsden and all that.
Yeah.
And those guys.
They were in a house too. Remember when they were in the little house?
They were in a house in Brampton, and I delivered my first album to them with my manager.
Yeah.
We went into a house, and we knocked on the back door, and there's garbage there and everything, and recycled. Well,
I know.
there was no recycle then. There was garbage things. He opened up the door, and of course back then when you had an album, they looked at it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It was like, these guys are serious.
Yeah.
They had to go to a. They had to go to a They had to go press this. I mean, these guys are serious art. I mean, nobody does this. Who would
That's
afford
serious
this?
shit,
Yeah.
dude.
Meanwhile, we're stretching and scratching to get this album out. But back then, it was serious to have an album. CFNY was fantastic supporters. Q107 started playing Gentle Rental, which is not on there, as medium rotation. They picked a song because Quality Records, basically put the pressure on them and said, look, there's got to be one song in there you can play. So, okay, we'll try this one. So they played Gentle Rental.
Yeah.
So the years between about 78 and 80 were good years for radio for Robbie Rox, believe it or not. And CFNY there's a lot of credit. Those guys were great.
I think we in Toronto are so lucky to have had CFNY
Oh.
in those days
think
because, you talk about the 3 big punk centers, and punk was a really just a fresh new musical scene, and Toronto was one of those 3 centers, and a lot of it I think was due to CFNY, and it was amazing. I went to that house once. I was dropping off something too. And Marsden came out, and Marsden himself came out and
Greeted
talked
you.
to me and greeted me and took the stuff.
Yeah.
You
Hey,
sure
why
don't
don't
get
we
that
why don't we
today.
just take a little break? I forgot about that Brunch Bunch song, Robbie. Why don't we hear that song? We'll take a little bit break, hear the song, and we'll come back and
Sure.
no, the Brunch Bunch. Is it on the CD?
It is on CD. Sorry, it might be hard to see.
There's 2 CDs, right?
Yeah, I would look. Do you see it?
Okay,
Second
well, let's. I just
Let's
want
do
to.
that.
I forgot about that song, Robbie. The Brunch Bunch.
That's the original version. And the funny thing about that was done at Captain Audio Studio. And
No, what's that? What?
Captain Audio was Ben McPeak. Captain Audio. It was in the Yorkville area. It was a small 4-track studio, and we were like, we weren't even trying to record.
Yeah.
The best stuff comes out when you're just.
Of
we
course.
were just horsing around.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote the song, but
Uh-huh.
we weren't like, really thinking, let's make this a hit, guys.
Yeah, it was just
Well,
you
sometimes
were relaxed.
you don't know it's a hit.
It's like you're
Well,
relaxed,
no,
right?
No, you don't.
Okay, are we good with that? Okay, let's hear the Brunch Bunch, and we're going to come back and finish up with Robbie Rox as Liquid Lunch continues here on a Friday. We'll be right back.
Too much brunch and too much drugs. She always had the urge to go to Vancouver. Too much brunch and too much drugs. She always had the urge to go to Vancouver. There are several clubs in North America, usually made up of semi-loners. Every Sunday they meet at some restaurant and terrify the cook and the owner. First they gulp down the entrees, then they gulp down the special, and they wait until their stomach's in pain. Then they go to the restroom and stick their fingers down her throat and start the whole damn thing over again. The brunch bunch, oh the brunch bunch. I lost my girl to the brunch bunch. I don't know if it means so much, but they don't know who they are and they need a crutch. Oh yeah. Now after their brunch, they get into some drugs, and they'll sit around the whole afternoon. They'll snort so much coke, their noses fall on the floor, and their stomachs look like helium balloons. Now if you have a girl that's with them, well don't try to call her, 'cause she won't want to see you that day. You see, they're going to Vancouver, they'll need a Mayflower mover to drag those dead weights away. The brunch bunch, oh the brunch bunch. I lost my girl to the brunch bunch. I don't know if it means so much, but they don't know who they are and they need a crutch. Oh yeah. It's been several years since I've seen my girl, but at least she writes to me each May. All she talks about is that the guys are better there. Well, in which way, I don't really care. Last time she wrote, she talked about having some kids. But who the hell would marry her now? After years of brunch and a pork in the bunch, there must be a stretch marks all over that sow. The brunch bunch, oh the brunch bunch. I lost my girl to the brunch bunch. I don't know if it means so much, but they don't know who they are and they need a crutch. Oh yeah. why.
And we're back. That's the Brunch Bunch song. And yeah, Robbie, I remember that song big time.
Yeah.
And you actually lost your girl to the Brunch Bunch,
I
right?
was going out with a girl at the time, and she was not easy to kind of nail down. Like
Just nail or nail down?
Well, like, you know what? Could you please stay home today? Kind of thing, you know.
You'd say that to her.
Well, in other words, I'd say, "Do you want to do something this afternoon?" She says, "No, I'm going to meet a bunch of friends. We every Sunday we have brunch." And then she goes, "We call it the Brunch Bunch." And of course, ding.
Breakfast Club.
Yeah. So then she basically left. She goes, "Well, I can't carry on a relationship because I'm going to Vancouver, and I'm going to be there for 6 months." So I basically lost her to the Brunch Bunch in Vancouver, and that's how why the song was written.
Yeah.
Why I wrote the song. So that's the song. And she came back and saw it in Sam the Record Man, and she read the lyrics. She called me. She goes, "You son of a gun, you. That song's about me, isn't it?" And I go, "Yep."
And
What's
she
wrong with
she
that?
wasn't happy about that, or what?
Well, she kind of was, and kind of wasn't, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, every song I wrote is triggered off by one thing somebody says. Mm-hmm. It's not some huge idea sometimes. It just starts off as a small idea, and then it goes into this other thing, right?
And let's not forget to mention that the reason you're here is because on November 29th, Tuesday night, 7:30, we have it's honoring our own.
Can we show it up on the screen, the big poster for the event? Because this is why you're here, Robbie. Because we're celebrating
Yes.
you and your musical career at the Black Swan on Danforth. So, yeah. So, and you got a whole bunch of people coming, going to help you celebrate. How did this all happen?
This
Honoring
your
our own, yeah.
Well, a friend of mine who's actually put out the greatest hits CDs contacted Mr. Peter Otis, and he just said,
Let's honor our own.
Yeah, and Peter said, "Well, yeah." So they I know some of the guys who run it, and who are involved in it, like Bob Segarini I've known, and Jack Tassay and the bunch, and Gary 17 and Ratchet.
Ratch, good old Ratch.
Gary
Ratch goes
17.
back. Ratch goes back. So basically, they discussed it and they thought it'd be a good idea. So I met these guys, and I was very flattered that they want to do this, and that's how it came about. So from that point on, we just put it in motion.
That's awesome. You got some awesome people coming. Michael Fonfera, Steve Ambrose, Bob Segarini.
Well, these are people that I basically grew up with in the business. Even if I didn't work with them, they were so. Our lives are so parallel, and they're in my age group, and they've gone through it, and they understand, everything that we all have gone through to still be able to do it today. That there's anything left of us, because
Exactly.
it is a tough business.
Sure.
And now it's the Robbie Rox band. Now, is this the same original band, or?
I'm starting off the evening anytime after 7:30 when the place starts to fill. So I'm going to wait till it. And I'm going to do the trio I've been using, which is basically me on guitar, stand-up acoustic bass, and a violin. I've been doing some gigs with that. I did one in Richmond Hill. It works really well with a sound man, and it's mic'd and everything, but it's really easy to listen to, and you can really get the message. Then I'm going to bring on the Cazzo Porco Rozzo band, which is the band.
Cazzo what?
Cazzo Porco Rozzo band.
Cazzo Porco.
Yeah,
Oh
Cazzo
my
Porco.
God.
That's Italian.
I know the translation is
Yeah.
that.
It's a Cazzo Porco Rozzo band. And we're Italian. I'm Italian, actually. We're Italian. So Cazzo Porco Rozzo band, and nobody really knew what Cazzo Porco Rozzo was except for Italians. But
what does it mean?
the Cazzo, there was Johnny Cazzo, Johnny Porco, and Michael Rozzo. Michael Rozzo means kind of a hick. He's kind of a hick.
Yeah.
And Johnny Cazzo.
Johnny Porco means basically Johnny Pig.
Yeah.
And maybe
Cazzo.
that's why we got lumped into the punk era. And Johnny Cazzo is Johnny genitals.
Prick.
Johnny male genitals. Let's put it that way.
I understand. Stella will draw a picture for everyone after the show.
You have to be this high to get inside this ride.
So So those guys haven't been together for about almost 30 years, so I'm going to do 5 songs with that setup. My brother John's flying in from Halifax. I'm putting together 5 of those songs that were on those albums that CF&Y used to play.
Yeah.
So-
So these are the guys that you
Yeah.
used to play with, right?
So I'm doing,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And this unit here is the first unit. And then I'm going to open it up after 9:30 to all my, I'm looking forward to these guests. I'm looking forward to all these people that are on this poster, just so I can hang out and watch them, because I've never had them all in the same place at the same time.
Well, one time when we did the Yorkville show with Mike and Pete was on, and Steve Ambrose came, so we got a bit of a taste of all that. That was a hoot.
Well, it sounds like you guys are going to have an awesome party that night.
Oh, if it doesn't kill us, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be a great night, yeah.
All right. So Tuesday, November 29th,
Yes.
7:30. It starts at the Black Swan, which is a little bit east of Broadview.
Yeah.
We all know where that is. On the second floor, right? Stella?
I don't know. I've never.
Well,
been.
you're gonna. Maybe we'll go there that night.
Maybe.
Okay. Robbie, this has been great to have you on.
Well, thanks a million. This has been really great, and thank you very much.
Now, is there any
A lot of fun.
any final thoughts? Any final, I don't know, anything you want to leave people with? Words of wisdom.
I'd say later on in your life, if you really realize what you're good at, like what you really believe in and what you really want to do, you got to really do it, because that's
Follow
all.
your bliss.
That's all there is. You start realizing, just follow. At I would say in my at most cost, not taking a chance on your health, or or risking health or family or friendships or anything like that. But I would say, like, try to forget about certain things. Try to get on it, especially if you really want to do it one more. Take another kick at it. Of course, I've never stopped, but So I just say, just go after things in life that you really want to do.
Okay, great. So November 29th, 7:30 at the Black Swan, and you got a website, right, Robbie?
RobbieRox.com. It'll show you old pictures with me and beards. We got hair and beards and the first band and how they dressed us up funny to do the first tour. We looked really, I can't even describe what we looked like, but anyway. There's a lot of stuff on there. And there's a lot of articles from all over the world on the reviewing some of the CDs.
Okay, great. And what song do you want to go out with here today?
I think we should go out with Ever Been to See Billy, Monster Horn Band.
Never been to
Have you ever
And-
been to see Billy Boy?
Hey, here, Stella. Here, have another drink.
That's why I got the commercial, because of that commercial.
Okay, speaking of horns, we're gonna come back in a couple of minutes. Mike Field Band is here, and they brought their horns. They brought everything. We're gonna come back and get some live performance from those guys, and we're looking forward to that. But in the meantime, here's Robbie Rox. Ever been to see Billy? And Robbie, thank you so much for coming here today. Best of luck with everything, and we'll see you on the 29th. So here it is, and we'll be right back.
So Johnny Cazzo.
Have you ever been to see Billy? Sometimes the waves get so high, you can't even eat your food.
He
Have you ever been lonely and bored, Billy? Sitting around for days on end, listening to your hair grow, and the sounds of your mind going round and round. Have you ever had bad experiences in high school, Billy? Like having physical defects and everybody's laughing at you. And you get to twitching so much that somebody has to help you carry your coffee across the school cafeteria. Have you ever been to sea, Billy? Have you ever been to sea? Oh, Billy! You know what I mean? I know that. Oh, Billy! You look green! You look green! Oh, Billy! People like you have made people like me. Have you ever had your career taken away from you, Billy? It's like the only thing you love and the only thing you ever want to do is drifting away in a world of ever-changing products. It's like someone took a large knife and cut your heart out, Billy. I don't need any help to kill myself, Billy. I can make my own noose. Besides, they do shoot horses, don't they, Billy? Hey, Billy, just while you're here, why don't you come over here and kick my ass, Billy? Ow! Ooh, that felt kind of good, Billy. Kick the other side now, Billy. Ow! Ow! Come on, Billy. Kick it again, Billy. Oh! One more time, Billy. Kick my ass. Ow! Then again, you wouldn't really know what I was talking about, would you, Billy?
back on Liquid Lunch, and that was, well, we had the Robbie Rox, and then we started playing the Mike Field from their new album, which we have right here, Mike Field Rising from the Ashes, or Ashes as it's called. And we have the band here. And Mike,
Hey.
great. Welcome to that channel.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, thanks for having us. It's great.
Well, now you guys, we got you set up here. We're looking forward to some music, but tell us a little bit about the group and you know, your inspiration. You're playing trumpet. I see. You know, I used to play trumpet, and you
Right.
got a beat up old trumpet there,
Right
but
on.
it sounds good.
Yeah.
and that's the main thing, right?
Awesome. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, well, I feel so lucky to be playing with these guys. It's absolutely amazing. I'll start by introducing them. Saxophone, this is Paul Metcalf. He's a guru on the saxophone, just amazing.
Yeah.
On bass is Carly Howell. And on drums is Dave Chan. And
Yeah.
on piano, the lovely Terry Parker.
Fantastic.
Yes. It's actually funny when we perform, everyone starts clapping right afterwards. But it's,
Why?
I don't know. I think they feel obligated to know because they're so excited.
I don't even know why I asked that
I don't
question.
know what to say about you. Awkward.
Because it's Friday and he's not focused.
It's what?
Focused.
No. So, but the band, I mean, we've been playing in one sort of formation or another for several years. But this project is a milestone, and it really brings the five of us together. And we've been working on it for about a year and a half, and we're so excited to finally have it out. And they're all original tunes, originally created kind of in my head at random points in time over the past few years, and it's an amazing process to write these songs because they start as little seeds, and it takes a long time to get them to the stage when we play them with the group. But they take on a completely different life of their own. So the end product is really, it's so exhilarating to do it. And the first time you bring them into the rehearsal room, and these guys have a chance to do their thing with it, it comes to life, and it is so amazing for me to hear that. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and I don't even know how you would even think about writing for jazz, because I mean, when people think about jazz, isn't one of the things about jazz that everything's kind of improvised to a certain extent? Like, you don't actually write every note for these
Right.
guys, do you?
Yeah, well, God no. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem. There's so many possibilities actually. I come up with a melody, or I hear a melody, and I put it into just a normal structure, AABA or AAB or whatever. Those are totally standard. Those have been around for ages, and that comes pretty naturally anyway, just when you hear the melodies. And but then you can have a lot of fun just arranging it for the rest of the group. You leave solo sections so that they can really shine,
Do their
like
thing.
each of the individual players, because
Yeah.
that's what it's about. And different ways you can weave the melody between the different instruments. You can write harmony parts. So like Paul and I, Paul on the sax, we can write harmony parts, and that just kind of brings it to another level as well. So it's actually not that hard. I imagine writing a piece that's 100% through composed would be a lot more work, because you do have to pay attention to every single note.
Yeah.
Like the composer who's doing it, whereas when in a jazz band, it's a group effort, and they're all concentrating on their individual notes, but they're doing all the thinking
Yeah.
for me.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a reality TV show. Just set up a situation and let people do what they're going to do.
Yes, exactly.
Much like this.
Yeah, much like this. Well, this is not a reality TV show.
Oh,
we know
it's
that
real,
much.
all right.
Well, we'd love to hear a song. What do you
Yeah,
want to do
cool.
for us first?
This one is called Rush Mode, inspired by just the fact that I tend to overpack my schedule all the time, and everything is done at warp speed. It's ridiculous. It's all in rush mode. And
Well, isn't that what the world is doing right now? Everybody's in rush mode.
yeah,
Nobody's
exactly.
stopping.
Yeah. So hopefully this song brings a little bit of awareness to that, so people just chill out. I need to take that advice probably more than anyone, but yeah, it's a fun tune to play.
Go ahead, please.
You know, that kind of reminded me, if I have to think of anything that it reminds me of, it kind of, more than anything else, maybe somebody like Herb Alpert. Now, were you, Mike, a big Herb Alpert fan as a trumpet guy?
I'm a fan, but I wouldn't say that he's one of my major influences. But
Who is?
Bring that mic a little bit closer, please.
yeah, sorry
We
about that.
want to hear what you're saying there.
Sorry about
But
yeah, I said that I am definitely a big fan, but he wouldn't be one of my major influences. I find it really hard to say who my influences are. I listen to a lot of Louis Armstrong, but I don't think that music really sounds like Louis Armstrong. And Miles Davis, Clifford Brown, Oscar Peterson, Ella Fitzgerald. Also some more modern stuff. I love Bela Fleck and Flecktones and stuff that they're doing these days. It's just amazing. Huge Heavyweights brass band fan as well.
those guys are awesome.
Yeah, totally.
Paul's in that band, so. Now, a part of it, I mean, you talk about the process, the writing process, and
Yeah.
you have to leave space. You got to work with a team, everybody
Yes.
else in the
Oh,
band
yeah.
here, and you
Oh,
got to
yeah.
leave them some space, right?
For sure, yeah.
What was the process like to get together with these guys? Like, how did you pick them, and
You mean
and why?
logistically?
Well, I mean, just
Like
formation.
formation
You got to
of
find the
band?
right people that can
It-
do the job that you got good chemistry with, and
Just playing with a bunch of different people over the years, and then you do a show with someone new, and everything just comes together. You're just like, oh, that felt so cool. That's amazing. I absolutely love that person's playing. So I can now see that for everyone in the band.
I had one time with me and Mike. We actually met originally in playing in a reggae band, actually.
Yeah.
So and it was I thought one time we really connected right at the beginning was we were playing in this band, and it was a show and it was raining. It was kind of a storm day,
Yeah,
and
totally.
we were supposed to play, and the tune we started the tune, and then they had to cut everything because it was too windy. It was too stormy. So only the instruments that could play like without electricity were playing. So it was really just me and
Just
Mike
the two
doing
of us.
duo things,
Yeah.
playing on this show that was supposed to be
Big
this full
band.
band, and we still had like people dancing and everything. So we're like, yeah, this is really
Yeah.
working.
what was that, outside somewhere?
It was
It
outside,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, where was that? Where was that?
It was the Freedom Festival in Queens Park.
Queens Park.
I don't find that a hard crowd to play to because they're just so happy all the time.
They were hard or not hard?
Not hard. Yeah.
So you were supporting the whole freedom thing.
we were the entertainment for the day, in spite of the rain. So yeah.
Now this record you mentioned took a long time to get out, and this is what you're celebrating. When is it?
Yeah,
Tonight?
Tonight. Yeah,
Tonight.
Yeah. Tonight. That's right. At in Kensington Market at Waterfalls Indian Tapas Bar and Grill. It's right across from Supermarket, if anyone knows that, in Kensington.
We know that.
We're on from 9:30 to 10:30 tonight. An amazing lineup for the whole evening. After us is the Jessica Stewart Few, Lord Bub and his New Jazz Project, the Bounce Project, DJ Stutter, and William Sprandine. Amazing.
That sounds fabulous. What
Yeah.
time? Oh, you go on at what time?
We're on
again?
at 9:30. Doors are at 9. Tickets are about $12 at the door, 10 in advance, and it's going to be until 2 o'clock.
And people can have the fabulous Indian tapas food at the same time, right?
Yeah, I think if you show up a little early, I'm not sure if they move the tables away.
Okay.
But yeah, and the CD is going to be available for sale.
Awesome. Do you want to do another song for us?
Yeah, for sure.
Because we'd love to hear another one.
Yeah, go right into it. Do you want to hear
Yeah.
a little bit about it?
Yeah, if you want,
um,
sure.
This one is, it's called Balkan Swing, and I write all my songs on the guitar.
That's weird.
And
I
I'm
mean-
really not good at the guitar, so I was just messing around one day, and I was trying to do a certain line, and then all of a sudden I hit a wrong note, like I always do, and I was like, oh, that actually was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And that was the seed for this tune.
Cool. I can't wait to hear that note. Wow, guys, that's awesome. Really, really sounding pretty good. So the people at the waterfall are going to have an awesome time tonight, and they can get the record, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And you guys can all quit your day jobs and live happily ever after as musicians.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the dream. Now you will wait.
Do you think that's ever going to happen? I mean, I mean, you guys are obviously very serious musicians, and this is a serious
Very,
project,
very
and you
serious,
sound great.
very serious.
What? Thank you, Mike, for being so serious.
I mean,
But I mean, obviously, you guys went to school for this, and you know, what do you think about the whole idea of being trying to be a professional musician, trying to earn your income, your living as a musician these days?
I'm just going with the flow. I do what it takes. If I need to work a few extra hours in the background, that's totally cool. I think I speak for everyone when I say that we're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lifetime of doing this. There'll be ups and downs like anything, but it's so much fun. It's so worth it, and life is short. So if we stop, then that just seems like a bad idea.
Yeah. Now, where did you go to school? Did you start playing trumpet in high school, or how did that work?
Yeah, I started when I was, like 10.
Yeah.
And I just did a regular music program at a high school here in Toronto. I studied Spanish at university, and only way later did I do a semester of jazz at NYU, and ran out of money because it's pretty expensive, and took some time off to pay it back. Circumstances changed, and I had to take off, so I never ended up finishing it, but just kept playing. But I studied classically, privately all my life as well with
I
some
take
awesome
it you're
teachers.
not a smoker.
No,
To
not
be
no,
able to
yeah.
play the drum.
Although I've seen it happen, but all of these guys have done some awesome programs in
Yeah.
music as well.
Yeah.
Through in Toronto and in Montreal. So yeah.
So what's
We're all in
next? What's
agreement.
next for you guys after this? I mean, the album's just released. It's real fresh, and you're out promoting it, obviously. With
Yep.
is it a release party tonight?
Yes, it is.
It's a release
Yep,
party.
that's right.
So
Yeah, it's very
that must
exciting.
feel great to have the record out.
Yeah,
But
it's so nice.
so now you're gonna be touring across the country, or
We are. We're right now just working on some shows in Toronto. Definitely want to play outside of the city, so I'm really going to push that. We've just been really busy trying to get this done. This is a huge milestone.
Yeah.
So as soon as this night is over, there's going to be a lot more stuff coming up. We play in quartet form at Gate 403 every 2 months. We're going to be there on December 2nd as well. And then we're doing a big Christmas concert at Harlem Restaurant, the one on the east, so it's on Richmond Street. That's on December 16th as well. It's free entry, but amazing food, and you come and listen to us play. We'll do 3 hours of music. So yeah, we've got some other great shows lined up already.
and that's gonna be
But we're gonna
upstairs
keep
at
doing
Harlem.
that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
And Gate
upstairs at Harlem.
403 is a great place out on Roncesvalles for people too.
You got
I
it.
noticed you said thanks to Jin there
Yep,
on the record.
exactly. She's
so-
amazing.
Yeah.
She's great. Yeah, the support from venue owners like that is just phenomenal. It's invaluable to musicians, giving
Yeah.
us a place to play, people to hear our music, people can hear our music.
Well, congratulations on getting this
Yeah.
done. And
Thanks.
It sounds like. What are you going to be working on? Well, this is part of the new jazz festival.
That's right.
Right tonight.
Yep, that's right.
Do you want to just tell people a little bit about the festival and?
Sure, yeah. It's the 4th annual New Jazz Festival here in Toronto. It's organized by Jay Cleary. He's just been doing a phenomenal job. Sebastian Cook is also doing a great job. A lot of publicity pushed this year for it, and some really big names. And it was from the 5th of this month to Sunday night, topped off by Roy Ayers, who's doing a show on Sunday night. So it's really great, an exciting thing to be part of, and we're really glad that they've got a night for local musicians like tonight.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
this is the last weekend for the new
That's
jazz
right.
festival this
Yep.
year. So
This year, yeah.
congratulations to Jay and Sebastian for
Yeah.
pulling it off for yet another year.
Yeah.
And so what better way to
End
take
of
part than to see you guys
Friday
tonight?
in,
Yeah, Friday night in the
local-
Kensington Market
Yeah.
at
Yep.
the Waterfall Tapas, which is just south of College.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
303 Augusta.
Well, listen, guys, thanks so much for coming by. And if people want to stay in touch with you guys, what's the website?
MikeFieldJazz.com. And we're on Facebook, Twitter, all the social media under
Great.
Mike Field Jazz.
MikeFieldJazz.com. Awesome. All right, guys, thanks so much for coming in today. We'd love to hear.
Thank you.
We can maybe end the show with one more number.
For sure.
Would be great.
Yeah, okay. We'll play a blues that we kind of take in a different direction after a while, but it's called The Upstanding Translator. And
What
thanks
is
so
it?
much for. It's called The Upstanding Translator.
Oh,
Oh, I
Yeah.
could go into a whole routine about that.
I bet
but-
you could, Stella. Well, let's do it after the show. Let's do it after the show, after the cameras are off.
Upstanding.
Okay.
translator.
All right, guys, thanks
Yeah,
so much for
all right.
coming in today, and
Thank you.
best of luck
Thanks a lot for
tonight
having
and
us
with
here,
this
Stella.
project.